Hi, I'm Pornsak Pichetshote. I'm a writer for Infidel for Image Comics, Season 2 of CLOAK and DAGGER on Freeform, and Season 2 of Light as a Feather, and Two Sentence Horror Stories that premieres August 6th on the CW. I was not looking for a full-time job, and I really just wanted to write. I was working in indie film, and a friend of mine sent me an email and was kind of like, hey, Karen Berger at Vertigo is looking for assistant editor. I have no idea what those words mean, but I feel like you do, so you should apply. And I'm like, yes, I'm a big Karen Berger fan, but I did not want a desk job. I wanted to freelance write, but I took the meeting because I wanted to meet Karen because I was such a huge fan, and that meeting led to an editing test, which led to another interview, and then she offered me the job, and I still I don't know if I want to take this job, but I've been taking these 6-month-long temp gigs, so worst thing is it'll be like a year-long temp gig, and I'll learn what it's like on the other side of the desk, and I'll maybe have a chance to work with some of my writing heroes, because I was such a big Vertigo fan, and that kind of came true. My first credit is on The Filth issue 13 with Grant Morrison. He's one of my favorite writers. My very first phone call was answering the phone when Harlan Ellison called, because he wanted to know where his comics were, because Karen used to send him his comics. And so I got to explain to Harlan Ellison that he will be getting his comic book soon. And that was big for me because there was a Harlan Ellison quote that I would always keep up to inspire myself to write. So the way comic book editors work is that every editor requires a different thing from their assistant. And the thing that I loved about working with Karen was that she would just you pretty much left it up to you to do the job of an editor, and you do it. And so my job was really much do the work and provide her options. And then by looking at what she responded to and what she didn't respond to, and some lessons she gave along the way, I learned how to be an editor. But it was very, very practical. Whether the creative team believes it or not, I look to them as the boss. And I was kind of in league with them, and there was this bigger company, which DC, which we were trying the whole point of, these are the guys I'm working for. I'm trying to convince these people that are paying my salary that I'm working for them when actually I'm working for these guys, and trying to help what they do pop up, come out unscathed by this big corporate machine that was DC. I think sometimes you'll see editors, for Marvel and DC and be like, oh, so-and-so doesn't like to be edited and all that kind of stuff. And what I've generally found is it's not that writers don't like to be edited, they just don't like to be edited badly. They don't like to waste their time on people who didn't take the time to know what you intended to do in the first place, or all that kind of stuff. Once you gain their trust, once you're on their side, your team will is willing to sort of work hard. There are definitely writers I can think of that have done more drafts for me, who have volunteered to do page 1 rewrites, who have never done a rewrite for anyone else. And it's always because, it's just about being honest and saying, hey, that thing you wanted to go for, I don't think we hit it. And here are my ideas on how we can hit it. Hopefully if you're working for them, they're the right person for the job, they're smart, and they understand, sound logic is sound logic. I'm like, all right, you're right, let's go and try to hit that. I had thoughts about leaving Vertigo. I had made editor, and I kind of realized, did I really want to be senior editor? That just sounded like the same job with the staff. I feel like the thing I was working for was to be an editor, and I kind of accomplished that. So I was thinking about what's the next thing. I was thinking maybe I'd work on the screenplay, try to direct the screenplay that I had written. And then the next opportunity came to me. I was at San Diego. I was with Peter Gross at the Vertigo booth, and it was right after, in 2010, right after everything got reorganized. And Geoff Johns comes to the booth, and he comes up to me and he says, it's so weird. We've worked together at DC for so long, we've never actually hang out. Let's go get drinks tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And then Geoff walks away, and I turn to Peter Gross I don't know what just happened. I think Geoff just asked me out on a date. I don't really totally understand. But I went and hung out with Geoff, and it was super fun. It was super cool. And there wasn't any agenda. He just wanted to hang out, and that was awesome. And what I would find out later is that was a job interview, because he was thinking about putting together what at the time was a think tank to bring comics into other media, and he didn't know the Vertigo catalog as well as he knew the DC catalog, because he knew everything about DC. So he's looking for a Vertigo guy, and so he made the offer for me to kind of come out to LA and be part of that think tank. He was like, the previous regimes before us were film and TV people who who taught themselves comics. So what I want to do is take a bunch of comics people and teach them film and TV, and we'll see which one gets more results. I would eventually start the DC TV department with Geoff, and then oversee the department. So I was there and helped, develop and oversee Arrow when it was starting off, and then that would lead to the Flash spin-off, and iZombie, and Constantine, and Gotham. Geoff ran his department the way a writer runs a writer's room. So there was a lot of assignments, and we would have to basically curate the library and figure out what are these, if people were looking for Adult Swim animation style things, what in the DC library would fit that, would fit that space. So there was a lot of that stuff, and eventually all that led to just me sort of running the TV department, which was me and an assistant I shared with someone else, and it was a crazy time. That year I weighed in on 100 hours of television. At the same time, I had written a pilot script that I had sent to friends, and they really liked it and sent it to their managers and agents, and I got a good response. So it became this thing where people were telling me, if you wanted to jump and make the leap, there are people here who are more than willing to take that and run. But obviously, if you want to keep your job, you can keep your job, and all the things kind of fell together and felt right. So it felt around the time to kind of start writing again. I had a couple of years where I didn't work right after I left DC, but I thank God for those years, because if I had, managed to jump straight to a show right after I left DC, I wouldn't have written Infidel. I wouldn't have done the life I'm living right now is it's so funny. I thought I had to take years to build up to that, but in life I'm living now is exactly what I wanted, where I spend 6 months of the year writing comics, hopefully another 6 months a year writing television. Television is chaotic, so you never quite know. So, and it's, for me, the big thing right now is navigating that chaos of just you never know when the next job is going to start, so just making sure for me, I can work on my comics and have them be in a good place, that when they do start, I don't feel insecure about where I'm leaving things, and I feel confident. And one of the things I realized working on Infidel is that the way you interact with the medium is how you make it specifically a comic book. It's not an idea that makes it specifically a comic, it's the interaction with the medium. And that's what it was for Infidel. I got excited about doing Infidel as a comic when I realized, the ideas I had to do this as a horror movie in live action, I would have to completely reinvent them to do as a comic, and then I was now I'm excited to do it as a comic, because now it feels like a comic, because now I'm doing something I can only do as comics. And then I gave myself permission to do it as a comic, because I think partly I was at Vertigo and I would see so many rejected screenplays that people would want to make as comics so they could make them as movies, and I just hated the idea of kind of betraying the medium like that. The thing I love about working on comics, I love everything about working on comics. I love talking about paper, I love talking about cover stock, I love talking about business models and profit sharing. I love every aspect of making a comic. I just find it all fascinating. Hey, hope you enjoyed the interview. Hit the like button if you liked it, and hit subscribe, because that's what people do on these things. And leave a comment of what you want to see the Beat guys talk to, or what you want to see in the channel in general. Remember to stay tuned to the Beat. There you are, just getting started.